Good afternoon. I'm Larry Horn of MPEG-LA, and I can't help but be struck, the way I'm sure most of you are, by the explosion of information we're hearing about and how awesome it is to be confronted with the very challenges that we're hearing about based on this explosion of information and all of the wonderful things that it can enable for this world. It is quite stirring and quite inspirational to hear it. And I don't know if this is a biblical phrase, Gertrude, but seek and ye shall find. As I'm sitting here, I'm struck by the fact that MPEG-LA was founded to solve, maybe on a smaller scale, maybe not as of the magnitude of food security, but it was founded to solve a problem not so dissimilar from the kind of problems we're talking about here. The problems of balancing innovation with the incentive to develop innovation, and balancing patent rights, which Michael has very articulately explained, are a bargain between the disclosure of information and the sharing of information, yes, but at the same time, the exclusionary right that goes with it. So today, just for a few minutes before we go on with the panel, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the business model that MPEG-LA innovated in 1997, and how that model, in part, addresses some of the issues we've been talking about here. Now, to be fair, again, it's not, at least at this point, although we're trying, it's not yet of the magnitude of food security. But, as with many problems, it starts with things near and dear to people's hearts: entertainment, video, and the like. And what MPEG-LA did in 1997 was offer to the market a new form of access to intellectual property rights. Access under which anyone who wanted to use the technology could do so on the same terms as everyone else. Now, this venture didn't come from serendipity. It required the contribution of many different patent holders who understood the need for such cooperation. They made their intellectual property widely available in the form of what we call patent pools so that others could have access to it. But at the same time, others would have access and also compensate those patent holders for their innovations, which would lead to new innovations and create that incentive which is so important in the intellectual property rights system. Now, this model's not for every problem. It doesn't solve every problem. It only solves some. But on the other hand, it is a model to show that beating patent swords into patent shares is indeed possible. And it shows that with the right amount of cooperation, there can be an explosion of innovation that benefits the world. Let's look into the model just a bit, if you will. This shows the progression from where intellectual property licensing was prior to MPEG-LA and where it is with MPEG-LA. Prior to MPEG-LA, licensing was done on a one patent holder to many proposition, or a many patent holder to one licensee proposition. But with the explosion of international standards and complex technologies around digital video compression, we entered into a new era, and the era was one in which many patents owned by many different parties were necessary to practice a particular platform of technology. That platform specifically in 1997 was the MPEG-2 standard. The MPEG-2 standard, very simply, was a form of digital video compression, turning pictures, video into zeros and ones, and decoding it on the other side. And it was the launching point for the digital video industry, which has ushered in all kinds of new industries. The problem that MPEG-LA was solving is along the top there. The industry knew that it had on its hands great innovations. It had great standards. It had great work that was done by many cooperative parties. But the fear was that as soon as somebody started making products for that market, then would come the spate of lawsuits that would chill the market from creating the new and innovative products that the MPEG-2 standard made possible. So the top line was the problem. Many patent owners, many patents. What MPEG-LA did, and it created what we call an intellectual property rights thicket. What MPEG-LA did was consolidate those patents in one place, on a voluntary basis, I might add, and make them available to the entire market on the same terms. And again, that innovation, that business model has spawned new industries in the digital video industry that were unthought of before. This technology is used in virtually every television, every DVD player, every Blu-ray player, in PCs that play video, in set-top boxes that reach out and distribute cable, receive cable, and in set-top boxes that receive signals from the satellite as well as the internet. And it enabled this entire industry with products that were not available before this time. The products, by the way, the numbers are quite phenomenal. We estimate that it has enabled more than 5 billion devices in this period of time, more than 50 billion video discs, and probably more than $3.5 trillion in worldwide sales. Now, MPEG-LA can't take responsibility for all of those numbers, but the unavailability of the market solution that MPEG-LA provided probably would have ground that industry to a halt. The solution, which we call the patent pool solution in this initial case, has become the template for more. There are many companies around the world who also practice patent pools. And here are patent pools which we ourselves have initiated with patent holders from all over the world. Currently, we're dealing with more than 8,000 patents under administration in 74 countries with more than 6,000 licensees. And obviously, that suggests that the availability of this model has been a godsend to the industries which are represented by these various standards. Now, most of these standards, not all, were creatures of the International Standards Organization, the MPEG group, and others were creatures of the IEEE and other such organizations. The patent holders represented in these pools are displayed here. Obviously, I'm not going to go through them, but I'll point out that there are patent users as well as pure patent owners. Patent users who are also patent owners, I might add, I'm sorry, but also patent owners who are pure patent owners, including Columbia University, for example, who obviously doesn't put products into the market, but is certainly a major innovator of products in the market. All told, across all of our programs, there are 160 licensors represented, and many of them repeat themselves, so it's represented by this distinguished list. More recently, we've tried to take our business model, tweak it a little bit, understanding that in a standard situation, every patent is essential to every operation, and therefore, making a license available to the market was a very different animal than it would be, for example, for biotechnology and specifically diagnostics. So we created a little bit of a different model. We created what we call a supermarket. And the supermarket we've named Librassay. And Librassay, which just launched in September, is designed to make available patent rights, again, on the same terms to everyone, for emerging technologies, specifically in the area of biomarker and research tools, so that diagnostic tests can be developed and diagnostic tests can be implemented across the market for personalized medical solutions that can benefit everyone. Again, there'll be, in this case, we're talking about very specific patent thickets. There's been much publicized ones around the diagnostics for breast cancer. There's other diseases, Lynch syndrome, and others which are subject to patent thickets. But this model also lends itself to providing a diagnostics, or in part, solution to even whole genome testing. And we're very proud to have launched it. And this is just a mock-up of the kind of web-based store that we have developed, where you can literally look at patents, examine them, understand how they relate to this particular diagnostics which you're doing, and also search them by various search terms and keywords. And we're proud to have started this enterprise with the 8 institutions listed here, including the National Institutes of Health, who obviously funds a lot of the research that is done. It is a very distinguished group, and the good news is right now we have more than 400 patents. They cover genetic patents, they cover protein patents, they cover all forms of biomarkers, and they're growing. We expect to add more patent holders soon, and we expect to add more patents along with them and along with the current group of patent holders. So, again, this model and the models that we've developed don't solve all the problems. They don't solve all of the food security problems. Openness is needed. We try to promote our own form of openness by taking the market as we find it. Patents are a fact of life. Like them or hate them, they're a fact of life. They need to be addressed, or often they are addressed, and we're trying to find an easier mechanism by which people can get their arms around the patents they need to create the innovative products that the market wants and that will adapt and conquer the kinds of ambitious problems, especially food security, that we have heard about today. So I look forward to our discussion.